Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is part 2 of the Groove Don't Lie podcast of Eddie Tuduri. Eddie is the great drummer and percussionist for the likes of the Beach Boys, Dr. John, Del Shannon, Jim Messina, and Michael McDonald. So, sit back. Here we go. Part 2 on the Groove Don't Lie podcast. I'm sure you went through a lot spiritually, emotionally, physically. So some things about that accident, how that brought you to trap.
I don't know any other way around it but to tell you the whole story.
Okay.
I was body surfing, which I did almost every day. I lived in Cart near the beach, and it was just something I did almost every day. I'd done a gig the night before on Friday, Saturday night. I was playing at a pizza joint in Santa Barbara, some little blues dump pizza joint we all played at. And I was the last wave of the day for me. I was 20 yards out and all by myself. When there were people elsewhere, but not right near me. And I jumped in a wave, like I body surfed. I didn't surf with a board. And I jumped in a wave that took me, and it's turned me like that, and pound, bam, into the bottom of the ocean. And I heard a big crack, and then nothing at all. And then I was floating underwater in this, I don't know how else to describe it. It was like a spiritual abyss. And my body was starting to float this way, and my spirit was floating this way, where there was a light or energy that people talk about, I guess. I don't think there's any descriptive way to say what it was or what it felt like or how. You know, it was just enticing, like an unconditional love beckoning me to go towards the bottom. My body was going this way and my spirit in this way. Then I thought, well, I'm going to have to drown because I want to discard this as a cage, and so I can continue on this journey, which was beautiful. So I said, well, I'll have to open my mouth and let the water in so I can drown, so I can get on with this. And then I remember thinking, drowning, that sucks. You know, and then I thought, how silly. It's nothing compared to where I'm going. So I opened my mouth wide, right? And when I opened my mouth, I was lifted from the bottom, and I saw the beautiful Carpinteria sky, and I took a deep breath. And then I was placed gently at the shore, which was quite a ways from where I was, on my back, where the lifeguard with the most seniority on the Central Coast happened to be on duty, and he came over and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm totally paralyzed," but I was smiling, and he must have thought I'm delusional. Right? I said, "No, I'm totally paralyzed." He said, "Okay, stay still. I'll be right back." And he went over and he took some surfboards. We put surfboards up all around me so water wouldn't flow over me while we were waiting. So when the paramedics, they were the number one paramedics on the Central Coast at the time, as was the lifeguard. So they handled me perfectly. That's how quadriplegics become worse off, when they're handled from wherever it is. Like for me, it was from the ocean here to the ambulance to the hospital. They handled me perfectly. They got me to the hospital on a Saturday. We went right through the double doors, and they rolled me right into the number one surgeon on the Central Coast, happened to be there on Saturday. I don't know what he was doing there, but he said, "What's going on here?" And they told him, he said, "I'll take care of this guy." And they rolled me into the MRI where they took a picture immediately. And Dr. Connor, his name was, he came in, he showed me the x-rays. He said, Eddie, this is what happened. The sixth vertebra is totally herniated and it's pressing against the spinal cord. That's why you're totally paralyzed. I said, okay, so what do we do? He said, well, I'm going to have to operate. I said, well, in a week? He said, no, right now. And he laughed, and we were jovial. And I said, okay. And he said, well, we're setting up the OR right now. It's an emergency operation. We're taking care of you right now. I said, do what you have to do, So they got it together and they rolled me down into the OR. And I was still jovial and smiling. And I was in a great mood and in the bliss of this, what happened. And so they're about to come at me and I remember the anesthesiologist. You could see him coming at you. I've had so many operations now. I said, wait a minute. He said, what? I said, you look just like a bass player I work with in Canada. And this guy was badass. I said, I hope you're at least half as good as he was. And we both started laughing. And then he put the thing on, he says, starts counting, 10 of them, and I was out, and I woke up laughing. 6, 7 hours later, I woke up laughing. I've been laughing ever since. Every operation since then, I wake up laughing. All the nurses are like, what are you laughing at? I don't, you had to be there.
Hey, that's your spirit, man. That's your spirit saying thank you.
Yeah. So I woke up, I went to the ICU, and there were angels in the ICU.
Yeah, babe.
I was telling the nurses, I said, you guys don't realize it, but you all have your own angel following you around. They said, Eddie, we like you, but you're really laying it on a little thick. I said, no, I'm not. I'm telling you, you can accept it or not, but I'm telling you what's happening. Then my surgeon's partner came in, and this guy wasn't very nice. I hear that he was a great surgeon, and his name was Jones, but he had no bedside manner. And I remember he came over and he had a little chart with him, and he said, oh, I'm Dr. Jones, I'm your doctor's partner, and I'm just looking in on you. How you doing? I said, I'm really fine. I'll be walking out here in a little while. And he said, I was kidding. And he said, who told you you'd walk? I don't recall saying it. I feel it strongly that I said F you to his face. What a terrible attitude to come in. At this time, at this moment.
Bad timing.
So he got a little angry and he walked away. Didn't matter to me. I was there for 2 weeks. And then they brought me to the rehab in Santa Barbara. It was a beautiful place, just beautiful. They treated me like gold. It was one of those moments. I would do it again. It was the moments, the spirit, the grace, all of it. I would do it again. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't have a lot of time, so I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have another 30 years to recover. But anyway, I got to the rehab. Now, I was totally paralyzed from the neck down, nothing. So they were doing everything for me. And they kept saying, you're going to have to learn how to deal with this. You're a complete quadriplegic, which means nothing from the neck down. But you can live in this body. We're going to teach you how to live in a chair and how to use these electronic instruments. And you're going to be fine. Don't worry. And I said, I love you guys. Really, I do. I can see who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. I said, but I'm going to be fine. And they were, Eddie, please, you have to listen to us. I said, well, I'm listening, but it's going in one ear and out the other because I'm walking out of here. And they were like, okay. So later on in life, I just spoke to my physical therapist. We talk every couple of weeks. The one who taught me how to walk. She was in on every meeting that said, this guy is not ever going to walk or have any normal bodily function, ever. And we have to teach him so that we can start working with him so he can live in this body and he can live with this life, this new life. We'll all, in the round, they all get together and they say, well, here's this guy, Gerry, and he broke his neck and his leg and his arm. What can we do to put them back together? So all the therapists go around the table and they say, this is what I can do. This is what the physical therapist can do. the occupational therapist, the internist. And it's a beautiful thing. You know, they all feel, okay, this is, we're going to put this guy or this lady back together. And here's how we're all going to chip in to do it. Every one of them. And I know it because I turned out, I dated two of them after that, you know, and, you know, I said, you need to, they couldn't talk about it. But after 12 years, Vika, who is one of the loves of my life, the lady who taught me how to walk, I said, Vika, you must tell me, what were you guys talking about in the round every day before we worked together? And she said, Eddie, they wrote you off. We wrote you off. We thought you would never walk, you would never get any of this function. All the medical evidence, all of it, proves that we're right. And we don't know what's happening for you. But you have to start embracing that. You may not ever walk or have this, you know. I said, you know what? I can see how kind you are, all of you, and I love you all for it. But you're all wrong. I didn't say that negative, angry kind of way. I was there 6 weeks, to make a long story short. And I remember working with Vika in the gym. There were parallel bars just across from where I was in my wheelchair. She was trying to work with my ankles and see if she could move. I said, you know, you're wasting your time with all this. She said, Eddie, I'm doing my job. You have to, you know, come on. We were friends by then. I said, look, roll me over to the parallel bars. You go to one end and I'll start at this end and I'll walk to you. Will you leave me alone then? You know? She said, I could see it in her face. Like, I'm going to get in trouble for this because he's going to fall on his ass. But how else are we going to prove to him that, you know, he needs to let us help him? So she rolled me over and she went to the other end and I looked at her. I didn't know if I could walk. I was just, I said, you ready? She said, yeah. And I took two steps forward. And then she started crying and I started crying and she ran down and we hugged and just bawled in each other's arms for a minute. And I said, okay, get rid of that wheelchair and all the rest of this shit. And I said, teach me how to walk. My legs are going to be fine. You know, and that was it. You know, from that day on, we learned how to walk. There's a whole system to walking, the way you move your hips and your shoulders, and where what's the gait between your feet, and what is your stride, all of it. You know, there's notes. So we worked, and you know, how many days later it was, but I walked out, just like I said I would, with a cane. You know, and I stayed. I'm volunteering at the hospital for 3 years. So I had a very close relationship with them. Still do. I still do. That's 30 years ago. And, you know, there was no way to explain how this happened, how it unfolded without my telling that story. Now, during the course of the time I was in the rehab, when I started moving, my hand came back. I could wiggle my toe, just like I told that guy in the ICU. I said, I'm wiggling my toe. I'll be out of here. I wiggled my toe. I said, okay, that's the beginning. And then I can move this hand. So I had some drums. I asked my friend to bring me some drumsticks and some percussion stuff. And my friend Greg Leroy, he's a guitar player I worked with a lot. And he did. And let me get a stick. I have one right here. So you know that railing on the side of your bed, right?
Yeah.
Side of the bed. I could feel it. And so the guy was watching us, Oscar, in the ward. I said, Oscar, can you just go on my food tray with his hands? So he went, da, 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 da. So this little old lady comes in, Edith. She was in her 80s. She had spinal cord surgery. She was hurting. She rolled in. She said, Eddie, I want to play. I said, okay, Edith, we had a cowbell. Don't ever bring a cowbell to the hospital. We had a cowbell. I said, Edith, can you just go 1 and 2 and 3? Da 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 boom bop da 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 da, right? So she couldn't quite get it. But Ted, my neighbor, who was in worse shape than any of us, I could do it. I said, he only had one hand too. And the Oscar was, I don't know. I said, just put the cowbell on his chest and give him a stick. How can he get in trouble? Right. So Oscar did that, and sure enough, he got it perfectly. 1 and 2 and 3. on the campus. Now we still needed. Still, I want to play. I said, okay, let's just go and right. So we had this ensemble, which I've kept in my mind to this day. We have a new curriculum I just wrote for. It's called the senior class. I teach them how to read the parts and play in an ensemble with 4 different instruments, all from that day in the rehab.
Wow.
And it was, it wasn't a simple, like a drum circle thing at all. They had to learn the parts, play different instruments, and stick to their part. It wasn't boom, 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 boom. What time is it? Boom, 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 boom. It wasn't a drum circle. It was the rhythmic arts project. It's its own thing. It's what it is. It's a proven, peer-studied methodology, journaled, and with special education over the years. It's a real deal. And it's been 30 years now. It's still going strong. I'm a little slower, but it's still, many people in many places are still doing it. I have a young lady that's working with us, Debbie, who is terrific. Debbie Major is a lead singer in a soul band. She has twins. They're 35 years old, cerebral palsy and autism. So she's been part of this population for 35 years strong.
Wow.
Very dedicated, devoted to her kids. I've never seen anybody like her. She brings tears to my eye. The other one's independent. She checks in on them all day long. If they call up, we hang up. Gage is on the phone. Bye. And then she'll call me back. Or Jacob and Gage. They are an amazing, amazing young man. And she's my hero. I mean, not only is she one of us, she's a funk butt, as Bonnie Bramlett used to call her.
Fuck butt.
Bonnie said, yeah, we're the funk butts, man. I said, all right. Couldn't say, Bonnie, it's all right with me. And that's who Debbie is. She sings great. Everybody loves her. She helps everybody. I don't know how she does it. She works about 5 jobs and takes care of these 2 boys and teaches and sings at night. She's amazing.
Eddie, this all comes from you. Why? How? Because from the moment when you were under the water, you were projecting. You were projecting a positivity that it's been with you. People nowadays, it's sad, but it's simple. It's like you are what you project. That's your reality. You were put in a situation and it's like, okay, well, this is the situation, but you know what? I'm projecting that I will walk again. And you never wavered.
I've never doubted it.
You never doubted it. And now you've gone on and you've never doubted this. So the universe brings people like these into your life. It's no coincidence, man.
I believe that. I do. I try not to dwell on it because then I feel so lucky and so honored and privileged to be in this body doing what it is I do. And then I learned how to play drums again. I mean, I was totally paralyzed for the first few weeks. Nothing. It seemed like all these things happened for a reason, obviously. I mean, to quote that adage, but it's true. And I felt like I was given everything from 0 to 100. I was 0 and then 10%, 20, 40%, 60, and then 100%. Never quite 100%. I realized that I'm disabled. That's no big deal to me. But I think all of those stages brought a different learning curve, a new lesson. This is what you need to learn. You need to pay attention. I fall down and I end up in the hospital. So we never stop learning, regardless of how good our lives have become and how successful we are spiritually or in our professions or in our relationships. Regardless, we need to pay attention.
Gotta pay attention.
Yeah. So life is good. I thank God for my broken neck every day. This wouldn't have happened. this wouldn't have happened. I don't know what I would have been playing in a blues bar for $50 a night at 78 years old. You know?
It's an incredible story. I mean, and it's ongoing. But I hear a documentary. I'll just say it out loud, man. I hear there's a documentary.
Yeah, no one's ever really approached me about that. I think so.
It's an incredible doc. And if because of I forget which movie it was that won an Oscar because the guy he couldn't hear. I forget what movie that was. Oh, he couldn't hear. It was maybe a few years ago, but your story, the fact that the people, and this happened, and how you knew and you approached it that way, and you approach it that every day. You haven't wavered.
I got to play again was really, I always played traditional style, always. Now, I can't feel these fingers in my hand. There's only about 40%, but enough. It works enough. So I had to learn match grip, right? So I just took, when I was able to hold two sticks, I just took out my Louis Bellson book. Read through all the stuff, and then I did stick control, and then I did Louis' 26 basic rudiments. That was it. I don't play with the speed or dexterity, but who needs it?
Who needs that? Who needs that?
Yeah. So, and I learned how to play a djembe. I never played a djembe or percussion before trap. I had to learn, because I had to use a djembe to teach the lessons, the way the lessons. You've taken the course.
Yes.
So
yes.
You can't do that on a drum set. So then I started I like the djembe. I've done gigs. I've done like swing gigs with just one djembe. Pearl makes a bunch of great stuff. These drums are amazing. I don't know if you can hear. You can't really hear on Zoom.
Well, I'm hearing.
It's my trap drums, really. And you can go use them on a gig. I mean, Louis, all the guys that have come to all my gigs, they all jump in on these things. The best guys in the world. And I'm enjoying it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I just play what I'm feeling. I don't know. I've never studied percussion. I guess I took some. You remember a guy named Jerry Steinholtz?
I do. Jerry Steinholtz.
Jerry Steinholtz.
Yeah.
I studied with him at.
Yes, God bless. Yeah. I used to see him back in the day at NAMM shows and things like that. It was Richie Garcia that introduced me to him. Yeah.
Everybody studied with Jerry at one time or another, it seems. I have a record out. We just put a record out this month with Jerry on it. Like, it's called Scratch. And I'll send it to you. I'll send you an MP3. And Dominic Genova on bass. I love his playing. Joe Toronto played keyboards and sang. And Lon Price played sax. It's kind of Rick thinks it's a fusion record. I don't. I think it's kind of maybe that's what they were playing. I was just playing Fatback through the whole thing. But I'll send it to you. Tell me what you think.
Oh, man.
Scratch.
All right.
Yeah. We have stuff we've been doing. I have another album called Uncle Fatback with Lenny McDaniel, the guy's a singer from New Orleans. And we played together for years. And Rick Hanna's in that too. And yeah, we're putting that together now.
Nice.
Putting it out on YouTube. There's no rhyme, no reason to it, just to do it, just to have it out.
That's great.
I mean, we play on so many records. I don't know about you, but I was thinking the last few days, I knew we were going to have this talk. I was trying to find the records that I was proud of. I am. I have stuff I really like. When you ask me about a record that I really felt, and it's, to me, we've all done 50 records or more, but you know who Jimmy Messina is?
Yes.
Lions of Messina.
Yes.
Jimmy and I had a great, I broke my neck while I was in his band. And we didn't see each other for a while, and then we became really good friends again. Well, I did a record with him right before I got hurt. The last gig I did was with Jimmy. And the record is I would never have thought that, because I would think, like, I did a record with Ike Turner back in the 70s with the Ikettes. My God, I was 25, and it was a dream come true. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. That's how cool it was, right? And that would be, and then there were a lot of other groups that were really funky that I really cared about. That group in Canada, I sent you a copy of something. In the 80s, I moved to Canada for 5 years.
Right.
I just played in clubs with these funk bands. And, there's that. But the Jimmy Messina record was not really my style. But the way it came out was, I don't know. Have you ever played on things and went, that's not me, but I really like it?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
You go, well, that wouldn't be my choice. But this record, of all the years and all the records, is it's called Watching the River Run, or Watching the River Flow, I forget. And it's the best record I ever played on. There isn't a funk thing or an R&B song on it. But Jimmy's very, very rhythmic, and the songs were all Loggins and Messina's, Angry Eyes, and all these stuff from Jimmy's past, and I love it.
Great.
How many records can you say that about? I really like that. I really like it. I don't know if I can get a copy of that. If I can, I'll send it to you.
Eddie, love you. Thank you.
Oh man, Gerry, thank you, man. I would have never imagined we'd do this, years ago. But thank you so much. I can't tell you, I'm really proud that you would even ask me.
We want to thank Mr. Eddie Tuduri for everything and the sharing of his journey. Thank you, Eddie. And by the way, support Trap.